Non-alcoholic beer. Elham Ghoreishi. I'm unsure if you hold any beliefs in luck, but personally, I place a great deal of faith in its influence. This perspective has been instilled in me by my grandmother, affectionately known as Bibi. She in turn inherited this perspective from our ancestors, passing down the wisdom through generations. Bibi used to impart to me, her dear son. Luck comes in two distinct forms: minor luck and grand luck. Throughout my life, I've consistently perceived myself as being rather unfortunate. As a young child growing up in Iran, I would engage in football matches with my friends within the tree-bordered alleyways of Tehran. Strangely enough, it seemed that amongst all the boys, it was I who had a penchant for attracting falling birds onto my head. These incidents left me feeling that perhaps luck was not on my side. In my childhood days, household shopping responsibilities rested upon the shoulders of us, the children of the household. A particular memory stands out vividly in my mind. It was a day when I found myself standing in an interminably long line, waiting to purchase bread. The Iran-Iraq War had plunged the nation into turmoil, accompanied by famine and unrelenting pressure that had sapped the energy of the people. Though I was just a young boy yearning to join my peers in a game, I persevered in that endless queue. However, as fate would have it, the instant it was finally my turn to procure the bread, the bakery was plunged into darkness, a result of a sudden electricity outage. Simultaneously, the ominous wail of an air raid siren pierced the air, sending the baker and every individual in the queue scattering towards safer havens. It was in moments like these that my belief in my own ill fortune deepened, as if the universe itself conspired against my every endeavor. During that very period, a multitude of families sought solace by relocating to the northern regions of Iran, driven by the necessity to evade the devastating rain of bombs. Our own family was no exception to this exodus. As children, our comprehension of the profound repercussions of war and the ensuing hardships was limited. Thus, the pristine shores of the Caspian Sea became a magnificent haven for us, an idyllic realm where we could revel in the joys of play and temporarily elude the confines of school and its demands. The allure of those beautiful shores granted us an unparalleled opportunity to immerse ourselves in pure enjoyment, casting aside the grim realities that surrounded us. One fateful day, as I frolicked in the sandy embrace of the beach, my attention was drawn to a fellow child of my age. Accompanied by her mother, this young girl had ventured to the beach for a day of play. This era in Iran, following the upheaval that led to the Shah's downfall, saw the emergence of mullahs in various spheres, including education, which subsequently resulted in the segregation of primary schools for boys and girls. Engaging in conversation with this girl, we delved into the topic of school and our respective lessons. To my amazement, I discovered that she hailed from Tehran as well. Amidst our chatter, she curiously inquired about the name of my Riyadh teacher. Though a seemingly inconsequential question, one that children often pose in a light-hearted manner, I responded truthfully that my teacher was named Mr. Jarabshi. In a rather unfortunate twist of words, I characterized him as having a peculiar speech impediment, causing his words to stumble and falter. Unwittingly, I attempted to mimic his distinctive speech pattern in an effort to inject some levity into our conversation. However, instead of eliciting laughter, my impression seemed to ignite the girl's ire. Without warning, she retaliated by flinging a handful of sand squarely onto my face, her frustration palpable. Abandoning our interaction, she sought solace in her mother's presence. It was only later that I would learn the painful truth. This very girl, the one with whom I had exchanged words and mimicry, was none other than the daughter of Mr. Jarabshi himself. The realization struck me like a bolt of misfortune, leaving me pondering the relentless bad luck that appeared to follow me like a shadow. My aura of misfortune was unmistakable, a trait that did not escape the notice of those around me. In fact, it became a cruel instrument for others to derive amusement from, as my life seemed to be a canvas painted with the strokes of ill luck. People had come to expect that if the improbable were to occur, it would invariably find its way to my doorstep. The notion that an elephant, an unlikely phenomenon to fall from the heavens, would target me specifically and crash down upon my head became a joke shared among acquaintances. If ever a single stone nestled itself within a mound of lunchtime rice, it was a foregone conclusion that it would gravitate towards my teeth, as though destiny itself conspired to keep me in perpetual discomfort. Even the hypothetical entry of a snake into our abode was destined to result in a bite, and I, naturally, would be its unfortunate recipient. This peculiar reputation of mine was a double-edged sword, eliciting laughter at my expense while weighing heavily on my own spirit. The very fabric of my life seemed woven with threads of misfortune, perpetuating a narrative in which the universe conspired to afflict me with unforeseen calamities. Each incident, no matter how improbable, only served to reinforce the perception that I was the favored target of mischance. As time wore on, this status quo became an inescapable part of my identity, both an object of jest and a source of internal contemplation. Amidst the unending cascade of mishaps, it was my grandmother who consistently played the role of a soothing balm for my wounded spirit. She would tenderly take me aside and offer words of solace, seeking to alleviate the weight of misfortune that seemed to encircle me. "My dear child," she would say, "these seemingly trivial misfortunes that you bear are, in fact, but mere ripples in the grand tapestry of life. Remember that God has endowed every human being with a shared reservoir of luck. Your perceived tribulations, these small misfortunes, serve a purpose, namely, to pave the way for greater blessings that await you." Her wisdom resonated with me on a profound level. My grandmother believed that these everyday adversities were akin to small coins spent in the process of life's grand transaction. In her eyes, they were trials that, though exasperating, prepared me for the monumental challenges and opportunities that awaited down the road. She would assure me that those friends who appeared to coast through life unburdened by the weight of misfortune were not necessarily favored with boundless luck. Their fortunes were being spent, bit by bit, on more mundane circumstances. In contrast, I, with my seemingly disproportionate share of mishaps, was accumulating a vast reservoir of luck, earmarked for the pivotal moments that lay ahead. Her words became my beacon of hope, offering a perspective that transformed my perception of adversity. I began to view each small setback as an investment, a sacrifice willingly made to fuel the prosperity and success that would eventually materialize. Through her guidance, my grandmother gifted me the gift of optimism, instilling within me the belief that a brighter future was written in the stars. And so, armed with her profound wisdom, I learned to bear my misfortunes with a newfound sense of purpose, trusting that they were paving the way for a life rich with grandeur and serendipity. Undeniably, the trajectory of my life demanded that I exert greater effort than those around me in order to achieve my aspirations. As I transitioned into adulthood, the trials of academia beckoned, and a pivotal juncture loomed before me. The entrance examination for university, a rite of passage that would determine the course of my future. My heart yearned to pursue medicine, a path I was determined to tread. Yet, in a bitter twist of fate, news emerged that the hospital's intake capacity for aspiring medical students had been slashed by half for that particular year. Faced with this unforeseen hurdle, the prospects of acceptance grew dim. Despite my fervent desire to pursue medicine, I made a pragmatic choice. I opted for dentistry, a neighboring realm that seemed to offer a semblance of possibility. Undeterred by the challenges, I committed myself to relentless study, poring over textbooks and materials in preparation for the entrance exam. I approached the examination day with a steadfast resolve, unwavering in my determination to prove my mettle. However, on the fateful day of the exam, a cruel twist of destiny struck yet again. An uncontrollable bout of viral diarrhea coupled with debilitating vomiting rendered me unable to even sit for the exam. Fate had dealt me yet another unfavorable hand, forcing me to accept defeat on this occasion. This setback necessitated a year of waiting. A year fraught with its own challenges and uncertainties. Undeterred by adversity, I persisted, honing my knowledge and determination in anticipation of the subsequent year's exam. And at long last, my efforts bore fruit. I secured a place at the university, a beacon of triumph amidst the shadows of past misfortunes. The journey to reach that point had been arduous and marked by an overwhelming sense of struggle. But in those moments of adversity and defeat, I had unknowingly been amassing the resilience and tenacity that would propel me forward in my pursuit of education. As I stepped onto the threshold of university life, I carried with me not only the weight of my experiences, but also a newfound understanding that perseverance and unwavering belief could, indeed, pave the way to fulfillment and success. The commencement of my academic journey coincided with the burgeoning wave of liberation movements among Iranian students, a collective response to the oppressive regime that held the nation in its grip. It was a time of fervent unrest, a period when young minds came together to challenge the dominance of the Islamic dictatorship. On one such day, as I made my way to the university, I sensed an air of tension and anticipation that was markedly different from previous occasions. My arrival was delayed that day, and as I entered the premises, a scene of fervor and unity unfolded before my eyes. Gathered within the expansive courtyard of the university, students had united in a chorus of defiant slogans, their voices resonating with a shared aspiration for freedom. I found myself immersed in the sea of passionate individuals, all voicing their discontent with a regime that sought to suppress their voices and aspirations. Yet, amidst the unity, turmoil loomed in the shadows. Trapped in the surging crowd, I became an unwitting target for a group of enforcers, merciless mercenaries whose allegiance lay with the oppressive regime. With brutal force, they wielded batons against the protesting students, the echoes of violence reverberating through the air. Amidst the chaos, their blows found me, leaving me disoriented and dazed. Consciousness faded, replaced by an abyss of darkness that enveloped my senses. My next awakening was marked by the sterile surroundings of a hospital room, the sterile scent of antiseptics permeating the air. Slowly, my senses returned, revealing the painful truth. I was in a hospital bed, my right arm immobilized and adorned with the unwelcome presence of a cast. The violent attack had left me not only battered in body, but also shaken in spirit. As I lay there, grappling with the reality of my shattered arm and the tumultuous circumstances that had brought me to this point, I couldn't help but feel a surge of determination. The oppressive regime may have tried to quell the voices of dissent, but it had inadvertently ignited an even fiercer fire within me. A fire that burned with the desire to contribute to a brighter future for my nation, a future unburdened by the shackles of tyranny. The aftermath of that fateful encounter left me grappling not only with physical pain, but also the weight of misunderstanding. My parents, despite my earnest claims of innocence, held reservations about my involvement in the protests. In the absence of my grandmother, who had been my steadfast pillar of belief, I found myself cast adrift in a sea of skepticism. Desperate to clear my name and stand by my convictions, I persisted in asserting my truth. However, my parents' concerns for my safety and well-being took precedence. In a bid to shield me from the escalating tensions and potential dangers that awaited, my mother and father remained resolute in their decision to distance me from the tumultuous events in Iran. In a poignant moment, my mother implored me to make a solemn promise: to refrain from further participation in the protests that sought to challenge the regime. My father, displaying his paternal concern, orchestrated a reprieve in the form of a hotel reservation in Istanbul, Turkey, a sanctuary far removed from the tempestuous atmosphere of Iran. With unwavering insistence, my parents secured my departure on the first available flight to Istanbul. It was a journey marked by mixed emotions. Gratitude for their protection and concern, yet tinged with the lingering longing to stand beside my fellow students and participate in the struggle for justice. As I embarked on my very first journey abroad, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions swirled within me. The unfamiliar sights and sounds of Istanbul served as a backdrop to my introspection, providing both a respite from the tumultuous events of my homeland and a space for contemplation. During those 2 weeks of respite, I wrestled with the crossroads at which my life stood. The experience of being in a foreign land allowed me to reflect on the complexities of my circumstances and the unrelenting drive that had led me to the precipice of activism. Istanbul became a temporary refuge, a canvas upon which I painted my hopes for a future where my voice could be heard without fear of retribution. With each passing day, I forged a deeper connection to the world beyond Iran's borders, a world that held the promise of broader perspectives and uncharted opportunities. And as the days turned into nights, I began to understand that the journey I had embarked upon was not just one of physical distance, but also of self-discovery and the unyielding pursuit of justice. The tranquility I sought within the boundaries of Istanbul proved to be a fleeting respite, lasting a mere week before dissipating into the tumultuous winds of fate. A ferocious winter, unlike any witnessed in the past 4 decades, seized hold of the city, encasing it in an icy grip that defied expectation. As the frigid air sank its icy claws into the very heart of Istanbul, an unprecedented chill descended upon the city, reminiscent of the challenges I grappled with in my own life. With each passing day, the relentless cold's embrace tightened, effectively immobilizing the city. Roads, once bustling with activity, were now treacherous pathways concealed beneath a sheet of frost. The city's electric pulse, the embodiment of vitality, was extinguished, leaving the streets shrouded in darkness that mirrored my own feelings of uncertainty. Just as Istanbul wrestled with the unanticipated severity of winter, I too was ensnared in the unpredictable twists of my personal journey. Balancing the intricacies of life with a fractured arm was a Herculean feat, an eye-opening testament to the impulsive nature of my initial decision to venture abroad. Even the refuge of my hotel room, my fortress of solitude, could not escape the frigid grip of the external world. The chill seeped into the room, a constant reminder of the inhospitable conditions beyond its walls. Each day, the situation grew bleaker, echoing the chaotic milieu of the political landscape I had temporarily left behind in Iran. The mounting cold, a formidable adversary in its own right, gave rise to a cascade of obstacles, among them a series of flight cancellations that eroded any hope of an imminent return to my homeland. Stranded in a foreign land, my broken hand serving as a physical reminder of my trials, I wrestled with the irony of my predicament. As I mentioned, this marked my first venture abroad. Subsequently, I embarked on a trip to Dubai, an experience intertwined with a deluge of rain due to the East Asian tsunami's impact. Dubai's streets, ill-equipped for such downpours, succumbed to flooding, rendering pedestrian movement near impossible. Seeking to rectify the situation, I returned to Dubai a few months later, driven by the desire to explore the city and indulge in shopping. It was on a Sunday that I set foot in the United Arab Emirates, coinciding with the passing of Dubai's leader. His demise prompted a week of public mourning, extending until the following Sunday, the day of my return flight to Tehran. Upon university graduation, I swiftly wed my classmate, my now wife, and together we opted for a honeymoon in Goa, India. Regrettably, our plans took a distressing turn as my wife fell victim to a perplexing virus recently spread in India, forcing us to spend the entirety of our trip within the confines of a hospital. With our daughter's first birthday on the horizon, we embarked on a European excursion to fulfill my wife's long-standing dream of visiting Paris. Tragically, our timing coincided with an ISIS attack on the Bataclan Theater in Paris, an event that shook the world. During the attack, my wife and I found ourselves in a cafe merely 2 blocks away from the harrowing scene. I remarked on our fortunate circumstance, emphasizing how we had narrowly escaped the danger that unfolded just streets away. These instances of fortune punctuated my life's trajectory, reminding me of the words imparted by my grandmother. Grateful for the providence that had guided me, I turned to thank the divine. In response, my wife offered a playful retort, jesting that our timing was unfortunate, as the attack coincided with our stay. In her perspective, the misfortune of the incident seemed to overshadow any sense of luck. It was a reminder that interpretations of events can diverge greatly among individuals, shaped by personal experiences and viewpoints. As I mentioned earlier, my wife and I were not just partners in marriage, but also classmates in dental school. Following our graduation, we seized an opportunity, and with the support of our parents, acquired an office to establish our dental practice. Our joint endeavors seemed poised for success. However, fate dealt us a harsh blow as my wife's health deteriorated mere months into our journey as practitioners. A surgical procedure on her brain left her unable to continue her work. With her unable to contribute, our shared aspirations faced a significant hurdle. Despite the unexpected challenges, life had another twist in store for us. Our family expanded with the unexpected arrival of a child. The growing burdens of our practice, coupled with my wife's inability to contribute, forced us to make difficult decisions. We ultimately opted to sell half of our office to a new young doctor. This colleague, who had received educational opportunities courtesy of his well-off father, consistently faltered in his work, leaving patients dissatisfied. I found myself assuming the responsibility of rectifying his errors to protect our office's reputation. Over time, the situation became untenable, and I resolved to sever our partnership. However, negotiations soured, leading to a heated dispute. The dispute escalated to a legal battle, and I emerged victorious in court. Despite my legal triumph, my colleagues' connections to influential figures within the regime escalated the situation. I soon found myself entangled in a web of trouble. In a chilling turn of events, my life took an unexpected turn. Security officers stormed into my office, abruptly arresting me. The accusations they levied against me ranged from destabilizing national security to inciting unrest among the public. I was even accused of participating in student protests and engaging in espionage for foreign nations. The gravity of the charges left me reeling. My experience with the legal system was far from over, and I was subsequently released from detention under the weight of substantial temporary bail. In the blink of an eye, my life had spiraled from running a dental practice alongside my wife to grappling with allegations that threatened my freedom and reputation. As I navigated the treacherous waters of a legal battle, I came to understand the immense power and influence that connections within the regime could wield. The trajectory of my life had taken a sharp turn, one that would test my resilience and convictions like never before. Amidst the turmoil of legal proceedings and the oppressive grip of accusations, my wife and I found ourselves confronted with a harsh reality. A somber conversation unfolded between us, one marked by the weight of our daughter's future. In the face of mounting challenges and the specter of an uncertain fate, my wife urged me to consider a drastic solution: emigrating in search of a better life for our family, particularly our young daughter. However, the journey towards a fresh start was riddled with obstacles. The ongoing court battles and associated restrictions on my movements effectively rendered me confined, shackled by the legal turmoil that gripped my life. Faced with this dilemma, and driven by the urgency of securing a brighter future for our daughter, I made a heart-wrenching decision. A decision to undertake the perilous journey to Europe, even if it meant resorting to illegal means. Summoning my courage, I embarked on a treacherous path, enlisting the assistance of a human trafficker to facilitate my journey. With Europe as my destination, my aim was to seek asylum, a beacon of hope in the midst of adversity. The gravity of this decision was not lost on me. It was a step into the unknown, a risk born out of desperation, and a fervent desire for a chance at a life free from the shadow of persecution. The journey itself was fraught with peril, fraught with uncertainty and danger at every turn. The prospect of illegal migration was not taken lightly, as it entailed navigating dangerous territories and placing my trust in individuals with questionable motives. Yet, the yearning for a life of security and opportunity for my family propelled me forward, overriding the inherent risks that accompanied my chosen path. The decision to seek asylum in Europe was not simply an act of escape. It was a manifestation of my determination to secure a future defined by freedom, safety, and the opportunity for my daughter to grow and flourish unburdened by the constraints of her father's past. It was a decision that held the potential to reshape our family's trajectory, emboldened by the hope that the grass on the other side of this arduous journey would be, indeed, greener. The journey I embarked upon, fraught with peril and uncertainty, is a tale that spans a vast landscape of horror and danger. To recount the intricacies of illegal travel would require a substantial amount of time, as the experiences I endured are etched with fear, desperation, and the relentless pursuit of a better life. But amidst the darkness, a thread of fortune weaved its way through my narrative. Much like countless others who embarked on illegal immigration, I encountered situations that could have easily tipped into catastrophe. The treacherous voyage across open waters in inflatable boats was a harrowing experience, fraught with the constant threat of capsizing and drowning. I was acutely aware that a single misstep or miscalculation could have led to a tragic end, as so many others had unfortunately experienced. Evading the watchful eyes of both Turkish and Greek border forces added an extra layer of danger to the already precarious journey. Miraculously, luck remained by my side. I managed to navigate the treacherous waters without falling victim to the unforgiving currents, avoiding the grim fate that had claimed the lives of too many before me. The perilous nature of this journey was underscored by the ever-present possibility of being shot at by border forces, a threat that loomed heavy throughout the arduous passage. In a fateful turn of events, my journey led me from Greece to the Netherlands, the culmination of a series of desperate steps undertaken in pursuit of a better future. My entry into the Netherlands was facilitated by the use of a fake passport, a risky endeavor that exemplified the lengths to which individuals like me were willing to go in order to escape the clutches of adversity. While my journey was marked by challenges that could fill volumes, the fact that I stood on Dutch soil, relatively unscathed, was a testament to the precarious balance between survival and misfortune. The experiences I lived through during those moments of illegal travel remain etched in my memory, a reminder of the lengths to which individuals are willing to go when their pursuit of a better life becomes a matter of survival. Reaching the Netherlands unscathed was in many ways a stroke of luck. The adage my grandmother had imparted resonated deeply within me. It felt as though I had somehow conserved a reservoir of luck that had proven instrumental during this critical juncture in my life. The next opportunity presented itself in the form of an asylum interview, a pivotal moment that held the potential to shape my future. After enduring a year and a half of anticipation and uncertainty, I was finally granted a residence permit in the Netherlands. In comparison to the protracted waits experienced by many within the confines of refugee camps, my relatively swift approval was indeed a favorable outcome. The reality was that the path to asylum, and subsequently a residence permit, was a journey marked by variability and chance. While my experience was marked by relative brevity, I was acutely aware of the countless others who remained in limbo for years, their hopes and dreams suspended in a state of uncertainty. Each case was a poignant reminder of the unpredictable nature of the asylum process, a stark reminder that destiny played a significant role in determining the outcomes for those seeking refuge in foreign lands. The Dutch Immigration Office had informed me of the need to remain in the camp until a suitable housing arrangement could be secured. Once a residence was obtained, the door would open for me to bring my family to Holland. The separation from my wife and daughter was a persistent ache that lived within me. My yearning to reunite with them weighed heavily on my heart. Throughout my time in Holland, I supported them by working tirelessly and sending money back home. My days were spent engaged in various roles: labor, building, painting, pipe repair, and construction work, anything that would yield income. The funds I earned were diligently sent to them, often leaving me with just enough to subsist on. The sacrifices were made willingly, driven by the unwavering bond that tied me to my family and the unyielding determination to ensure their well-being despite the distance that separated us. One day, I sat on my camp room bed, gripped by a wave of longing for my family. As I reflected on my life, a sense of misfortune pervaded my thoughts. Why had these events unfolded in my life? Why was I seemingly destined to navigate such challenging circumstances? Questions gnawed at me. Why had I been born during the tumultuous era of Iran's history, plagued by wars? I had diligently pursued my medical education, yet my qualifications were not recognized here. Was my only recourse to study anew or to resign myself to a lifetime of toil? Why had my wife fallen ill? Why was I compelled to flee my homeland, leaving everything behind? I found myself yearning for the supposed great chance my grandmother had spoken of. Where was it now? Was it to evade danger and survive the ordeal of fleeing? Or perhaps to find answers about my asylum status? A pall of negativity settled over me, casting a shadow of discomfort and sorrow. In my distress, the desire to numb my emotions with a drink arose. Surveying my funds, I realized I only had €7 to spare. Driven by the craving for a momentary escape, I headed to the store. The aroma of discounted beer greeted me. A box of 6, once priced at €7.80, was now reduced to €6.50. In that fleeting moment, a glimmer of happiness pierced through the gloom, and I made the purchase with haste before returning to the camp. Upon my return, however, my elation turned to dismay as I discovered I had inadvertently purchased non-alcoholic beer. A bitter irony washed over me. What kind of fool seeks solace in a drink that inflates his stomach and offers no respite? Frustration mingled with my disappointment, prompting me to consider returning to the store to rectify the mistake. But a cruel twist of fate emerged. I had carelessly discarded the purchase receipt, rendering my efforts futile. "Wow, you unlucky little thing." "No problem. Perhaps I'll save up for some major luck." The end. Elham Ghoreishi.
Be sure to like our content and stay tuned by subscribing.